I think that I think this goes back to something that we were saying last week, and then I had a subsequent conversation. Let's try that word again. I had a subsequent oh my gosh.
That kind of day.
I had a subsequent conversation with a friend a few days ago. We were talking about so this will let people know how much of a nerd I really am. I've been watching Brandon Sanderson lectures on
Really? I've got a
YouTube
friend.
about writing fiction.
Yeah.
Do you know
I've
who
read
that is?
here somewhere. I don't know where it went.
Are you familiar?
I haven't seen any of his lectures, but one of my friends who I'd probably be doing the podcast with is a massive Brandon Sanderson fan.
Okay. Yeah, very prolific science fiction writer.
Yeah.
But anyway, so me and him were talking about that, talking about fiction, talking about stories. And I said, I think this is what I appreciate so much about Tim's angle
Mm-hmm.
as he explains and approaches the text is he centrally views it as a story.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we talked about this a little bit last week. I think that is what helps him
Yeah.
push.
Mm-hmm.
I you don't know how much I would pay to see a conversation between Jordan Peterson and Tim Mackey. Like
Those honestly are two of my favorite public
that
figures.
would make my day. But here's my point. I think they both have the basic underlying ethos of it's story.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of Peterson's the many cited reasons for why Peterson is so popular. But I think that's one of the major ones that doesn't get talked about a lot is the dude is fundamentally about story.
Yeah.
And so is Tim.
Yeah.
So I think that when you push on the institutionalized or evangelicalized nature of looking at certain things, more or less scientifically, you can push on that with story, which is a bit postmodern, by the way.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to attribute it just to them because it's way more ancient than them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's part of his ability to push is to say, look at these things that are going on in the text, right? Like how, and Marty talks about this, which you'll get there in Bema, how the Noah and the flood subsiding and landing on the mountain is a retelling of the creation story.
Yeah.
And it's not the thing that is so, I think, palatable to people is that when you say that, the thing they shouldn't be hearing and hopefully don't hear is, oh, so he's saying that it's just a story. Sure, I could be saying that and I might believe that, but that's not the point. The point that I'm making is there's a definite mirror here going on.
Yeah.
And you can substantiate it with the fact that afterwards he's re-given the covenant that Adam was given.
Yeah.
Multiply, subdue the earth. And same deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, but all the pictures, all the images that are used, the way it's described and the way it transpires from day to day, from the window opening and there being light and the darkness and the birds of the air and the beasts of the field, and then man's the last one to get off the ark on dry land.
Yeah.
It's creation. It's recreation. It's not that it isn't true, but when you can frame it that way, right? When you can put on different glasses to view the text, when you help people do that, and this was the ultimate point I was making to my friend the other day was, this is also probably why I'm weirdly fascinated with comedy, is because the comedy and story do the same thing. They disarm their audience.
Yeah.
Right? This is why and I'm not going to give my spiel, but this is why when Dave Chappelle says, I can't say anything true without having a punchline, and him seeming to be mad at that, I'm like, but Dave, why are you mad? Because that's your superpower, right? Yeah. Like the reason you get all of us to listen to you is because you're a genius with these jokes.
Yeah.
It's because I can laugh at something that I might not initially agree with on your
Yeah.
thesis, but if
Yeah.
you can wrap it in a joke and you get me to swallow it, then I can think about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you disarm me with humor.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is why comedy is such a great tool. Same thing with story.
Yeah.
If you can properly wrap someone up in a narrative, you disarm them.
Yeah.
You get them to I mean, look, George Lucas got us to accept that there's, some dark space lord who walks around in all black in a cape and breathes like he's, going scuba diving, right?
Yeah.
And there's lightsabers and Jedis and space wizards and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a more crazy example, but yeah, I mean, and we're like, oh yeah, it totally makes sense, right? Because the world in which he has created, those things make sense. We're not questioning. The question of is it? To quote some Peterson approach, the question of is it real? Isn't real.
Ain't got money for Hong Kong. If she'd have asked me last year, I'd have been long gone. Shit, 'cause we all dogs, and I hope we all go to heaven.